Hi guys, another quick video just to explain this time a little bit about airflow mattresses. Not professing to be any expert, I only know what I've kind of learned through being in the industry myself. I'm still learning lots about these things as I go along, so if you know a little bit more, I encourage some discussions between yourselves and your colleagues. Feel free to drop me a message and tell me anything that I've missed as well, because I like learning too. So I'm going to start with setting one of the mattresses up. Really straightforward, please don't be afraid of them. It's not magical equipment, it's just standard airflows. Okay, so first of all, these go onto the base of the beds. Okay, and I'm saying that very carefully. It has been seen that some people have kind of like put these things on top of mattresses too. That could cause a big problem, because then this part could obviously slide off from the standard mattress. The other thing to note is this, I'm demonstrating an Alerta Sapphire 2. There's lots and lots and lots of different makes and models of varying prices. This one actually has an inbuilt additional cushion at the bottom here. Some of the airflows that we have in our company at the minute are much thinner, particularly you'll see some pink ones. They don't have this inbuilt cushion. If that is the case, then you must have an additional cushion put underneath it, and they can be bought separately. Do not just put the air tubes directly onto the bars. The reason for this is if the system were to fail, the tubes would deflate and the resin would then essentially be on the bars. These are designed to reduce pressure source. You'll very much be counteracting that. The other thing, look, a lot of them have these kinds of elastic straps. Sometimes they have buckle clips that go right across. These are to affix them to the bed. Obviously these profile beds have moving parts, so what you are aiming to do is to attach the mattress to the moving parts, not the bed frame itself. I say that very carefully because it has been known for people to attach them to these parts here, and of course when the button's triggered and this is elevated, then obviously you're going to bring tension into the mattress and you're just going to tear this. It's not going to work at all then. This one's nice and simple because it just slips over the corners here and here. Another thing to just note, they make it nice and simple for most of them. There's a picture of some feet here, therefore the feet go at the foot ends. Sometimes people ask me, say, Andy, how do I know which is the foot end of a bed and which is the head end? Well, as we can see from that one, it elevated and a pivot point about here. The leg part, of course, moves so it raises at the back of the knee. You're not actually raising the feet. So it's a really easy way to identify which is the head and which is the foot end. Another simple way, of course, if the bed is powered, is to press the button. Have a look when you're pressing the head end or the foot end. Okay, so I'm just going to attach this now to this moving part here, on this side, and on this side. Another little thing just to consider when you're setting it up is, you see how we've got these overlaps over the zips. Just make sure they're tucked down. Why? Well, because of course they're designed to stop any kind of ingress through the zip area, obviously body fluids, spillages, etc. And if these are just folded up, you're counteracting that, and you're probably going to end up damaging the mattress sooner and have to throw it away for infection control reasons. Okay, then we come to the actual air itself. Loads and loads and loads of different types of connectors. You'll bring this to the pump and basically plug it in. If there's only one way to plug it in, you'll see different shapes. If it can go in either way, then it won't make a difference. So I'm going to plug this in to the side, and we'll hear a nice little click. Then we come to power this. And so you've got quite a long cable. For now, I'm just going to plug it into a different socket. Setting it up in a residence room though, of course, you want to be trying to use the socket at the back of the bed. You're going to move things around. Consider where this cable is. Make sure you're avoiding trip hazards. I would suggest run it under the bed, under the headboard, and then into the socket. It's also very likely that if a resident's having to use one of these, it's possible that they're going to have to be hoisted as well. So think about the cable running underneath. Where you bring your hoists, you're going to be causing damage to the cable, or potentially damage to yourself trying to run the hoist over the cables. So maybe consider clipping that to the bottom, the underside of the bed. For now, I'm just going to plug it in here. Okay, now it's powered on at the wall. So now what we need to do is to find the on and off switch. And as you can see, there's a little green button just here. That illuminates, we get a beep, and you start to hear the air go in. These things normally take about 20 minutes to inflate. Some people suggest by changing the setting from alternative to static, that can increase the airflow and that'll fill them a little bit faster. While that's inflating, I'm just going to bring us to a slightly different model of an airflow mattress, just to highlight this. So this is our CPR emergency tag. I pulled this and as you can hear there's air escaping from the mattress. So if one were to have to perform CPR, this would pull down, the air would pull out of the head area of the mattress, therefore allowing much better access to be able to breathe air into a patient or resident in order to perform CPR. One of the most common things I'm called to a mattress for is that it seems to be going flat no matter how long it's been switched on. This is normally the problem. I'd say probably about 9 out of 10 times. So just watch here, this particular model has 3 different valves, some have 2, some have 1, and these rubber stoppers, very simple mechanics. Just push them on, make sure they're secure, and switch the machine back on and test it. Okay. What very often happens is because of our bed rails and where this is, often they can easily be caught by mistake with being absent-minded. So that's another thing to consider if performing personal care for somebody and you've had to raise or lower the side rails. Just have a double check that that hasn't just been slightly moved. Coming back to the Alerta Sapphire 2 now, you'll see that this has a CPR tag, just as shown on the other model. And also, it says CPR on the side of the pump where the pipes go in. So of course you would pull both of these if having to perform CPR on this style of mattress. What these things actually do, in case you're not aware. So of course these are designed to try and relieve pressure from a resident's underside so that there's not constant pressure in the same areas. So the idea is I've unzipped this so we can see the magic inside. As you can see, we've got these air tubes or air cells, and the principle being is that as the air is flowing down one of the tubes, then it's inflating every other cell. Okay? So of course, if they're being inflated, the others are starting to deflate. And after the set amount of time, they will then alternate to come to the other side. So the resident or patient isn't having pressure in this very same area constantly. They get that alleviated. It's also good to be aware of the insides. These tubes can get little holes occasionally. Sometimes that's a problem when you get a low air warning or something like that. And there's a series of pipes on the other side where you could literally just check the connectors are together. If it's not, of course, the obvious, like I said earlier, with the CPR valve. When we put these onto a static setting, then of course all of the tubes will inflate equally, which seems a little bit counterproductive if this is being used as a pressure relief system. You're not really going to help pressure sores there because it's the same principle. the pressure is being constant for the same amount of time. There's no relief there at all. So let's have a look at the different settings. Of course, all these machines look slightly different. Don't be overwhelmed. Generally, the settings are the same, just displayed differently on each machine. Some easier than others. So here you can see I have this on alternate. As I mentioned earlier, this is the idea that every other tube will inflate for a certain period of time, then it will alternate to the other set of tubes. This is the setting that you want this on if a resident's using this as pressure relief. We have static, and as from this beautiful picture, you can see that that means everything will be inflated equally. To change that, we can simply press the button. On the alternate setting, you'll notice that we've got this cycle time. We can change this so that every 10 minutes it alternates all the way up to 25 by simply pressing this button or pressing again to reduce it back down. Max firm is exactly what it says. It'll put the highest amount of pressure it can in every cell equally. This unlock lock function will be mighty useful, particularly if you've got some residents who like to press buttons and may unwittingly turn a machine off. This will automatically activate after a certain amount of time, but it's prudent to activate this before you leave the room by simply pressing and holding. Once that light is illuminated, anyone can press any of these buttons and no changes will happen. Finally, this last section here, labelled alarm. This will tell us why the alarm is ringing. Is it because there's low pressure? Is it because there's a power failure? Or is it because there's an alternate failure? If it's low pressure, as mentioned earlier, check the CPR plug. Also check that the pipes are here. Sometimes when the bed's been changed or rearranged, sometimes these can be folded or kinked or something like this. Check it is actually making it seal and it's fully clipped in. Outside of that, if you still can't see any problem, then you'll have to take the zips apart, have a look at the tube, see if there's any holes, have a look on this side, and just make sure all the connectors are connected together. If it's none of those, then you're going to need to send this to maintenance or to this provider for assessment. Of course, lastly, we've got the dial in the middle. This is your weight setting. This is the weight of the resident, which should be taken at least once a week, if not more. So if we've got a resident here who's 80 kilos, we'll set it to that, and the air pressure that's put in will be modified for that. Oh, just coming back to the power failure note. Sometimes when people are changing things, they'll turn the power off at the plug. This will happen. Of course, this alarms in case there is a power failure in the building, then you know to come along and either change this mattress over for somebody or to make alternative arrangements. I have staff come to me asking how I can turn this off because it's annoying and they don't need the bed powered at all. Quite simply, turn the power back on. Turn it off properly by using the switch, and then you can remove the power successfully.